Outstanding. With that, then I'll call to order the Land Clearance Redevelopment Authority for the City of St. Louis for its regularly scheduled meeting held November 19, 2024 via Zoom. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Jones, absent. Commissioner Koenig,
Present.
Commissioner Spencer,
Present.
and Chair McBride.
Present.
You have a quorum with 3 present and 1 absent.
Thank you. Let's take up the approval of the minutes for the meeting held October 22, 2024. Is there a motion to approve?
I so move.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Koenig,
Aye.
Commissioner Spencer,
Aye.
Chair McBride.
Aye.
Motion passes with all voting yes.
Thank you. Let's move on to resolution 24 LCRA 10892 relating to FCE properties as redeveloper of 1423 Malcrot.
Chair, we need to kind of go out of order on this one. Can we go with item number 6 on the agenda? Mr. Rob Orr will be speaking on it.
The last one. Okay, we can
Yes,
take
sir.
that. Let's take up resolution 24 LCRA 10895 appropriation from the Missouri Department of Higher Education. Mr. Orr.
Yeah, good afternoon. Presenting resolution 24 LCRA 10895. This resolution authorizes an agreement related to a state of Missouri appropriation from the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development Agency to Module Building Systems Community Development LLC, doing business as Module Building Systems, to support the creation of a next generation residential manufacturing and training facility. The Missouri General Assembly, through its budgeting process, appropriated funds to the Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development to provide up to $2.86 million to Module Building Systems. The funding is to support the development of a next generation residential manufacturing and training facility. MBS is currently creating a new company, and they are in the process of starting a new modular building manufacturing facility that we are negotiating with them to locate in the Monarch on MLK, and it would be our only manufacturing tenant in that facility, and we are working towards creating the space that they can occupy in that building. LCRA seeks an arrangement that's very similar to the Missouri Development Finance Board tax credit program that this board is familiar with, whereby LCRA is essentially the conduit between the state agency that's providing the money and MBS, which is a beneficiary of the state award. MBS will submit invoices to LCRA. We will forward them on to the state. The state will determine whether or not they are eligible for reimbursement. Those that are eligible for reimbursement, they will issue payment to LCRA, and LCRA will pay Modular Building Systems. So it is a reimbursable program. The language in the budget is somewhat vague as to what is an eligible expense, but the Department of Higher Education, along with LCRA, will make those determinations at the appropriate time. On the call, I believe, and I don't see all the participants, but I believe Mark Turnbull, who is the founder and CEO of MBS, along with 1 or 2 of his consultants may be on. So Mark, if you're there, if you want to.
Mr. Turnbull, would you like to add a little more color to Mr. Orr's presentation, please?
Sure, yeah. Thank you all for your time today. I think the one thing that Mr. Orr did make, we have a partnership with Rankin Technical College, and we're basically going to be creating a workforce development center in the Monarch facility where we'll train local residents, Rankin students, in modern methods of construction, including modular and panelized systems, which is slowly taking the traditional construction industry.
You're cutting out a little bit, Mr. Turnbull. Mr. Turnbull.
Oh,
you're cutting out just a little bit. I don't know if you have any other way to make that more clear.
Sorry, 1 second here. Yeah, one second. Go to, here, give me 1 second, sorry. I'm in between meetings right now, I apologize. I'm driving in between meeting, guys, so I apologize. I thought it was gonna happen at 3 AM for our thing, so I had to run to another meeting. But can you hear me clearer now or no?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, hey, perfect, perfect. Yeah, so as the founder of Modular Building Systems, we partnered with Rankin Technical College, and our goal in the Monarch facility is to create a workforce training, manufacturing facility in modular construction and panelized construction. We plan on working with Rankin's existing already partnerships slate, giving opportunities for jobs, and also main reason why I founded this company is for the affordable housing crisis and to create affordable housing, not just in North St. Louis, but the whole region as a whole. It's the LCRA acting as that pass through. We really appreciate it. We hope that you can approve that. And, we're excited to get to work and make an impact in St. Louis and the whole region. So, yeah.
Is there anyone else you have on the call, Mr. Turnbull?
I just have Christopher Bedell and David Lensing, and they may be just listening in. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, our full capital stack, including the appropriation, will be roughly around 9 million in total. We'll be ordering roughly around 2.5 million worth of CNC and automation equipment that will train local residents, Rankin students on it. And then, we plan on partnering with local developers and general contractors too, and nonprofits mainly, such as, Justine Peterson and I know Beyond Housing and Tabernacle, tackle. And hopefully, the goal is to bring equity back for St. Louis and we plan on being a big part of that, economic justice plan for the Martin Luther King corridor.
All right, Mr. Lindsay and Mr. Bedell, do you have anything to add to what Mr. Turnbull had said? No?
I don't. Christopher Bedell here. I don't.
Thanks, sir.
Very good.
Can you hear me?
Mr. Lindsay, are you speaking?
Yes, I was just asking, can you hear me?
I can now. But you've muted yourself. All right. Well, we have a few things to touch on. Mr. Lindsay, if you get that unmuted, happy to hear what you have to add. Rob, as I understand it, this is baked into House Bill 3.147 to go to modular building systems. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
The state always likes to work with a local unit of government rather than directly providing funding to, private individuals like this. So they asked the city to name an intermediary agency to transact the project, just like we do with the MDFB, kind of as the pass-through agency, the local entity that make sure that the project is being completed according to what was proposed in the funding agreement. So that's the reason for our involvement. We don't really have any other role other than passing through. And it's just coincidental that in this case, NBS is also looking at space in the Monarch facility. That had nothing to do with the grant award, but that's just a coincidence because we happen to own a facility that actually may work very well for what they want to manufacture in that space.
Thank you. Any of the commissioners have any questions on this resolution? Commissioner Spencer.
A quick comment and question. Glad to see there's some more movement, positive movement with the Monarch. And just wondered who would be the point person at SLDC that's going to manage this program and manage the reimbursements and to make sure that we're successful on our side.
It will probably be a team effort between myself and Tim Mulligan, who's the actual project manager for the Monarch. Some might depend on whether they are seeking reimbursement for machinery and equipment, in which case I would play a role. If they're seeking reimbursement for building improvements, that would probably be Tim. But it'll basically pass through me before we send it on to the state.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve Resolution 24 LCRA 10895.
So moved, Spencer.
I second.
Properly moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Koenig,
Aye.
Commissioner Spencer,
Aye.
Chair McBride.
Aye.
Motion passes without voting yes.
Thank you much. And anything else on that we're taking out of order? Or are we going straight from the top now? Mr. Wilson? Great. Then at this time, we'll take up Resolution 24 LCRA 10892, designating FCE as redeveloper for 1423 Malincrot. Zach?
Yes, thank you, board. This is a very exciting project we saw some years ago, early 2023 or late 2022. It was passed by ordinance that allowed for 15 years of tax abatement, 10 at 90 followed by 5 at 50. We're designate FCE Properties LLC as developer for 1423 and 1435 Malincrot Street. Just a refresher for what the project is, it's renovation of the old Trinity Academy Catholic School. Zakita has purchased the property and is investing about $7.4 million to the property to be classrooms and office space for geospatial training and support services. We have Zakita on the phone to kind of give an update of where the project stands and be happy to answer any questions after that.
Thank you. Yeah, if you could bring us up to speed on where we are now. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. So the Geospatial and IT Workforce and Apprenticeship Campus or Education Center at the former Most Holy Trinity site is currently operational. Training started for youth and adults over the summer. And in terms of the process of completion, we're almost like right at the finish line, just a little final things here and there from the general contractor and subcontractors. But the building, just as a recap, it serves as a training facility and an education center. The space is operated by Gateway Global, where there's training for geospatial intelligence, robotics, cybersecurity, data analytics. We have visits and tours from our partners for Gateway Global from NGA and other industry that have interest in hiring young folks who have gone through the training there. There's space being offered there for community gatherings for the USGIF or the United States Geospatial Intelligence Foundation ecosystem, as well as neighborhood associations. So the building is, while it's a workforce development institution in the geospatial space and other IT, it is engaged in community involvement. So as Zach mentioned, $7.4 million is the investment, and then our anticipation is within that building, there will be at least 10 full-time employees there, 5 part-time, and then the most exciting part, around 50 apprentices or entry-level jobs created in geospatial data labeling and analytics for ages 16 and older.
That sounds
And I'll
great.
pause
And
there.
can you tell us more about Gateway Global?
So Gateway Global is a workforce development organization that performs the training in geospatial intelligence and the other industries that I mentioned. So cybersecurity, data analytics, data labeling, with a focus on two different programs. So there's the Gateway to the Globe, or G2G, which is ages 16 through 24, where young people come in and earn industry recognized credentials. And in fact, Gateway Global is actually the only organization in the United States that can offer those credentials at the high school level, which makes Missouri and St. Louis the headquarters for it. So any young person across the country who wants to obtain those credentials has to take remote courses with Gateway Global. And then also there's a adult training program that is specifically focused right now on two different things. So cybersecurity and then geospatial data labeling and analytics.
Very good. Do we have anything else on this resolution, Zach?
No, sir.
Any questions from the commissioners on this resolution? Zach, before the pandemic, we had some matters in which, when projects were very near to completion, there was a question as to the but-for test. Is that an issue that we have here as to the timing of this project?
No, we presented this before the construction start. We're just designating developer for ZT so we can enter a redevelopment agreement and make sure everything's squared moving forward. So the ordinance was passed allowing for tax abatement. We're just making sure we have everything lined up now.
That's what I assumed and what I wanted to hear. Thank you. Very good. Anything else on this resolution? If not, then I would entertain a motion to approve Resolution 24 LCRA 10892.
So move, Sean Spencer.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Koenig,
Aye.
Commissioner Spencer,
Aye.
and Chair McBride.
Aye.
Motion passes with all voting yes.
Thank you. Now let's take up Resolution 24 LCRA 10893, issuance of taxable industrial revenue bonds for the South Carondelet redevelopment area.
Yes, thank you, sir. I'm going to just give you a high level. There's a vacant industrial warehouse here, kind of off of South Broadway in the Carondelet neighborhood. I think the official address is 87 Riley Avenue. Elemental Enzymes is planning on moving into this facility. We're offering 10 years of abatement for personal property taxes. It will create it's expected to employ 52 employees at the location with an estimate 3.8 million payroll within the first 5 years. We have Mark Spikerman kind of go over the mechanics of this, if you have any questions on that piece. But we also have Becky and Jacob from Steadfast City to answer questions from the development group.
Very good. Well, let's see. Let's start with Mr. Sparkman, and he can kind of give us the overview, and then we'll let Becky and Jacob.
Thank you, Commissioner McBride. My name is Mark Spikerman, bond counsel to LCRA. These industrial revenue bonds facilitate a personal property tax abatement on the equipment that Elemental Enzymes will acquire for their facility. The tax abatement essentially works by LCRA acquiring title to the property, the equipment, and then leasing it to the company during the abatement term. As long as LCRA owns it, the equipment is tax exempt from personal property tax. And then we can impose contractual payments in lieu of taxes in order to achieve the desired level of abatement. That abatement is 75% for 10 years. And at the end of 10 years, LCRA will transfer the equipment back to the company and it'll become fully taxable.
And what's the lifespan on the taxing of this personal property?
Most of this personal property will depreciate over 7 years. If it wears out, there's nothing to transfer back, but the company would buy replacement equipment and that would be fully taxable.
Even if it's within the 10-year period?
That depends if it's a repair or replacement, it substitutes in. If it's just that they've, used something up and we're buying new things for new capital expenditures, then it doesn't count.
Very good. Any questions from the commissioners for Mr. Sparkman? Thank you, Mark. All right, Becky and Jacob, talk to us about enzymes.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I am Becky Alvin with Steadfast City, and as your staff has pointed out, I do have Jacob here also. We are representing Elemental Enzymes, which is a current Missouri agribusiness. They actually are a startup out of the University of Missouri, and they located their headquarters and their current facility in Maryland Heights. They focus on developing sustainable agricultural solutions for drought, heat stress, disease mitigation, and fertilizers. They help make oranges better, and is really the simplified version of that. This project is looking at a 100,000 square foot facility for R&D and manufacturing. And as Zach has pointed out, 52 employees with over $3.8 million payroll within 5 years, brings in an average salary to around $73,000. And the request right now is for 10 years of 75% personal property tax abatement on $8 million of investment. That's all I have right now. I can answer any questions, or Jacob can answer questions too.
Yeah, are they coming from like the Danforth Center or something affiliated with that?
No, I don't believe so.
Nope.
They're go ahead, Jacob.
This is a true success story of a university. Oh shoot. Spun off data from a university, so they have been growing over the last several years. This facility represents new jobs, not relocated jobs from Maryland Heights. They currently have their headquarters at Westport. Apologize on my raspy voice. If I need to speak up, please let me know. Gotta love the temperature change that's coming to our beautiful area here. They have headquarters in Maryland Heights. They have a processing facility, an R&D in unincorporated St. Louis County. Those are both remaining in place. These are new jobs to the company, new jobs to the region, new jobs to the state above their existing operations.
Very good. And is Elemental Enzyme seeking any other incentive from the city of St. Louis?
Not from the city of St. Louis.
Okay. And are there any safety concerns with the manufacturing of the enzymes? I'm not sure what that even entails.
I think I can maybe answer your question. There are chemical byproducts, but they get stored in holding tanks and then they're recycled, or they're trucked away to be disposed of safely. They really focus on the development of the sustainable ag products. So they're really focused again on reusing what they can, and what they can't, they safely dispose of.
All right.
We had conversations with Alderwoman and Schweitzer, and like Becky said, they are all about sustainability. And so the last thing that any of their systems do is would want to pollute or do anything like that. Obviously, that's not the point. This could be done easily at Danforth Center. So anything that's captured is held in a tank and then trucked off. They're not doing anything combustible or anything that's going to cause any smells, anything like that.
Very good. And Mr. Sparkman, question to you. What do you know what the marginal tax rate is on just the personal property that'd be subject to this? You're muted if you're.
Yeah, sorry about that. The the city of St. Louis has a sort of bifurcated personal property tax system. If something qualifies as manufacturing equipment, it is assessed and taxed through the license collector's office. And that's I don't have it down to the penny in front of me, but it's roughly a little over $7 per $100 of assessed value. And if it's things like computers, furniture, or not other non-manufacturing equipment, it's assessed through the city assessor, and that's at about over $8 per $100 of assessed value.
Okay.
There'll probably be a mixture of both.
Understood. All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, any other questions from the commissioners on this resolution?
I'm sorry, Sean, I jumped in. Just to be clear,
Proceed.
this facility is already built. It's you're about to, outfit it for your specific needs. Is that what this is happening? Or it's
Correct.
Oh,
So
sorry,
go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, there's several spec buildings been built down at the River City campus. They will be a tenant, leasee, for the site. So the arrow is kind of pointing to a larger building further south, but is the building to the extreme north, that kind of a shorter, skinnier building there. That's the building
Okay.
it's located at.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Thanks, Chairman McBride, for letting me.
No issue. Commissioner Spencer.
I was just gonna ask about the background on how they found the site and selected the site, if there was any support from SLDC or the Economic Development Partnership or anybody that assisted bringing you to this location.
I'm gonna let you handle that one, Jacob.
Oh, I was getting ready to talk. Obviously, all of their existing operations are in St. Louis, and so this was a competitive project. Getting into the city, we had conversations with Zach and Jake, but they used a broker, and obviously, based off what they're doing and being a startup, they wanted to be relatively close to their headquarters. Again, sorry, pardon my allergies. And so there was some discussion happening in terms of getting them a facility.
Thank you.
No problem. Luckily, Zach and the SLD team, we work with them quite a bit, so everyone's always fantastic on issues that pop up like this early in the beginning. So
Appreciate that. Thank you.
We'll reserve all of our questions for orange enzymes for the experts. If there's nothing else in this resolution, I would entertain a motion to approve 24 LCRA 10893.
I so move.
Second. Maybe
Either moved and seconded?
Maybe.
They're probably moved and seconded with request for previous role. Is there any objection to that request? Hearing none, the motion passes and the resolution is approved. Thank you. Good luck.
thank you.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
All right, and now we'll take up 24 LCRA 10894 regarding agreement for underground tank closure. Is Mr. Phillips on the line?
I am, yes. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So resolution 23 LCRA 10894 again is resolution. We're seeking authorization to enter into an agreement with Geotechnology LLC, also doing business as UES, for underground storage tank closure and removal services. So as part of the closure, just to be clear, it's also, there is still a tank in the ground, underground storage tank that was never closed properly, needs to be removed. And as part of that, there's some closure and sampling activities that need to happen before and after the actual removal of the tank. So just a little more context. The site is owned by the Land Reutilization Authority of the City of St. Louis. We've owned it for a while. The tank has been out of commission. It was an old gas station since 2011. And it came into LRA ownership. And a little bit more context as well is there has been ongoing sampling at this site, and as well as other activities and remediation. The state, the Missouri Department of Natural Resources actually had identified a potential liable party for a previous leak at this site, and that other entity has been doing for years additional remediation and sampling to get to closure. They're almost at that point now to be completely done with what they are responsible for. Then as landowner, the LRA is responsible for whatever is not the other entity is responsible for, which in this case is going to be the remaining tank and any potential contamination around that tank. Excuse me. Sorry about that. And then one of the reasons why we are looking at this now, again, is because that other remediation is wrapping up and we know the full extent of what, you know, LRA and the city would be responsible for, because we didn't want to overcommit beforehand. So this contract, in October, we sent out a request for bids to the pre-qualified shortlist of environmental engineers that we had previously approved. We received 4 responses back, and the one before you for consideration from the selection committee that recommended is geotechnology. Out of the 4 responses that we received back, all of the base bid prices were within 25% of each other. After full consideration, geotechnology was the one who was recommended, and that also, again, largely came down to they were the lowest base bid that we received. And given that they have, along with all of the other entities on the pre-qualified shortlist, have experience in this regard, it really kind of came down to price. I want to note, again, just as a little more context, that their base bid was a little over 32,000, but we're seeking authorization to go up to 40,000. And to clarify for that is a rundown of the process. There's going to need to be some digging and trenching and sampling done around the tank and inside the tank to identify what's in there, what's potentially in the soil. Then they pull the tank, dispose of the tank, and then after the tank is out, there's more sampling that's done, where there's the soil is checked for any contaminants that may have leaked out of the tank. And so the fluctuation in the request for a little bit more is based on the unit rates that we asked each firm to provide in the event that additional soil and or sludge or materials from the tank may need to be disposed of than we anticipate. So we asked for a base bid for them to provide with a certain estimated quantity of material to be drained from the tank to be disposed of, as well as a certain estimated quantity of soil that would need to be removed. So anything over that amount would be charged at a unit rate per their proposal. So it's possible that we could go over the 32,000 base bid. It just depends on how much is in the soil. So that's what that is for. And so they have a subcontractor identified. I want to make sure I don't get the full name wrong here. Advanced Environmental Services, Inc., which will be helping them with the tank pull. They are a minority business enterprise entity, which they expect to about split the contract cost with them, as geotechnology will be doing a lot of the lab and sampling work, and AESI will be doing a lot of the actual tank pulling. So with that, also the source of funds from this will actually be the LCRA Proactive Development and Site Assembly Fund, the ARPA funds. That is what we plan on using this for. We have received, some preliminary approval to do some of this work, and the actual contract, if approved, if authorized here by LCRA, will also still need to be approved by the Community Development Administration as part of that ARPA review process. And given that it meets the requirements for that program, as it is included in a HUD qualified census tract and a SLDC Economic Justice Index area, which is one of the reasons it's targeted for this. And we do know that DeSales Community Development is looking at this area, including this parcel in particular, for their Virginia mixed use and mixed income development site. And so this would be, it's good timing for us to take care of this responsibility so that we can get out of the way and help prep this site for a redevelopment. And regardless of whether or not when we hope nothing against DeSales project, but even in the event that that project does not happen, this tank closure is still needed at the state level. There is a state MDNR oversight component to this, which is also why geotechnology is engaged, that they're going to be responsible for communicating and submitting everything to the Missouri Department of Natural Resources for their oversight and approval to get fully closed out and state approved environmental closure. So with that, I will go ahead and open it up for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. If there's any success in obtaining any remuneration from the previous owner, would that then stay with SLDC or would that go to another entity?
Well, that is, so they've taken care of everything they've had to take care of, and that's been handled with MDNR separately. We haven't been involved with that at all, other than being kept like apprised of it. The state has identified and kind of segregated out what their responsibility and what ours is now. And so the remaining tank is ours. And so there's going to be no more reimbursable money or anything coming back. They took care of it all on their own. It's done. And so everything else left is for us to take care of.
Do we have any understanding as to the extent of these underground tanks that remain?
There's one tank that's kind of bifurcated into two sections. It's about a 12,000 gallon total size tank. I don't have a full understanding right now of, how full it is or how well it was closed. All we know is that it was not closed correctly at the state level when the gas station dismantled and were put out of service. So the state knows that there's a tank in there, but they don't know the condition of it because it was never closed properly. So then when LRA took ownership of the property, this is something that, we could have done at any point in time during our ownership, but we had put it off until we had fully delineated what was the previous responsible party's responsibility versus what we would need to, so that we didn't overpay in a cleanup for something that someone else was responsible for.
Sure. Very good. I believe I saw Commissioner Koenig's hand.
Thank you. I think I just wanted clarification as to what was held in the tank previously, but I think by what you just said, it is gasoline tank?
Yes, correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Spencer.
First off, I'd just like to thank Peter or Mr. Phillips for all your work. This is complicated. Each site's a little bit different, so thanks for all you do to get these sites cleaned up. One of the questions coming from this resolution is if the LCRA Proactive Development and Site Assembly Fund is not approved by CDA, do you have other sources like the EIERA fund or something else that you can tap into and maybe Chair McBride, if we want to amend that resolution, that depending on the funding source, I'm just not familiar with that fund, how much is in it and what that approval process is going to be. But I know there's other ways that you've been able to get these lots cleaned up.
Yes, so that the fund that I'm referring to, the LCRA Proactive, the assemblage one, that is part of the original 13.5 million that we've looked at for assembling sites and doing work like this. The pre-development activity is specifically for activities like environmental remediation or demolition or soil work, etc. In this case, we just didn't need the assembly piece. That would be something that, more DeSales is doing the assembly piece, as they have an option on the site, from my understanding. And so they're doing the assembly. We're just making sure that we're doing the pre-development enough for them to do it. Now, so out of the 13 million, again, we've got an outline budget. So this $40,000 is a small amount of that budget. In the off chance that this is, for whatever reason, not able to be funded through this program, there is a possibility that we might be able to tap into some of the revolved EPA revolving loan fund dollars that we have available. and make a sub grant or sub loan to the LRA separately from this agreement to do that work. That process is a little bit longer and a little bit more complicated than this funding source, to be honest with you. And given that it aligns very closely with the goals of this ARPA assembly and pre-development, fund that we have available, I thought it was a good opportunity to, use some of those funds in South St. Louis as opposed to, like some of the other areas largely targeted in North St. Louis and downtown. And so I just kind of, it seemed like a good fit. And so, and it's as long as CDA doesn't disagree at the last minute, then we should be good to go. But I do think that I could use other funds from the EPA revolving loan fund, but that would probably push back the timeline pretty considerably.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Very good. So if that unfortunate eventuality comes to pass as Mr. Phillips, then we will just have to take up an amendment to this resolution at a later date, correct?
What would likely happen is that this resolution would just go nowhere and we wouldn't
Right.
execute that contract. And then the way it would work with the EPA revolving loan fund is I would probably actually enter into a sub grant or a loan agreement with LRA directly and probably not be back before this board. The reason I'm asking you is because the funding source that I'm looking for is approved and managed by the LCRA as opposed to LRA.
Sounds good. Unless there are any further questions, I'd entertain a motion to approve Resolution 24 LCRA 10894.
So moved. Request for previous roll.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded with a request for previous rules or any objection to that request. Hearing none, motion passes and the resolution is approved. All right, good luck, Peter.
Thank you.
All right, we're here in open agenda. Is there anything in open agenda from the staff?
No, sir.
Our next meeting is scheduled for December 17, 2024. There being no further business before this board, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. We are adjourned. Thank you.